Hi everyone, I am back for my second YouTube video. I know in the first one I said that if I got enough views that I would keep going and that I would keep making these, and so I've been watching my video, I've been watching that you guys have been watching, and even though it's only like 100 views, I feel like if that many people are watching it, then hopefully it's helping at least one person, and that's why I want to keep doing these and to continue keeping up with informing you guys and sharing my experience, and my husband now, his experience too, with sort of what the Marine Corps has done for us. So, like I just said, we did get married, so I am a military spouse now, which is new, and so I can speak to that as well. And then, I also kind of understand it from still the fiance side, but also the spouse side as well. So hopefully that's going to add a new perspective that's going to allow me to be more relatable with more experiences. But anyways, in this video, I thought it would be helpful for me to consolidate down and not be as winded and say as much, and then for me to also just kind of go over some different acronyms and some of the sayings that you're going to hear. So this is kind of like Marine 101 as far as like what things stand for and kind of learning the ropes on how to interpret what your Marine might be telling you every day. And so I am going to dive right in with that, and hopefully as I continue to do these, I will learn how to be more effective and how to talk to you guys about the things that you're interested in getting to know. So anyways, what I want to start off with is last time we talked about MCT, and so what happens after MCT? Well, your Marine is now going to go to MOS. And MOS stands for Military Occupational Specialty, and that's a fancy way of saying that it's your Marine's specific job that he or she is going to be doing while they're in the Corps. So a lot of people will refer to it as their 9 to 5, and even though it's not necessarily those hours, it's sort of like their everyday job that they're going to be responsible for. Something else that you're probably going to hear about, especially once they go to their MOS school, is formation. Formation is what I always joke is like my worst enemy, but it's actually just something where your Marine is going to go to every night, and they're going to check in, and it's sort of like just to make sure everybody is where they're supposed to be, and they're checking back in at night and all of that. So that's what formation is, if you've heard of that. And then field day is something else that my husband mentions a lot, and field day is not a great time for them. It's a lot of cleaning, a lot of getting ready, because usually you have field day and they're inspected, and so that's to make sure that their barracks are up to standards, and sometimes if they fail, then they'll have to do field day for multiple days on end, and sometimes it's a one and done type of thing. So those are always interesting to hear about from his perspective, but I know that it's never a good time for them necessarily, but it has to be done because stuff has to stay clean. Another thing that you might have heard of or even experienced if you've been on a military base is colors, and I am not sure if this is actually something that happens on all bases or what, but it has every place that my husband has been. So colors is basically they play the song, and everybody, if you're outside, you stop, and you'll see guys like saluting or just standing there very still, and so it is a reverent thing, and I think it's used to honor soldiers that never came home and soldiers that are fallen, and so it's something that we really try to respect. And I think as a spouse, if you're ever on a base and it happens, it's something that you want to stop and acknowledge because it is important, and it's also just a really special time of honoring fallen soldiers and those that are deployed and all of those things. So anyways, that's colors. And then fire watch is something that your Marine has probably been doing since boot camp, but you're probably hearing about it more actively now if he's at his MOS school. And fire watch is basically like a safety, like they're on safety duty sort of, and so they are going to be checking in and making sure that everybody's doing okay, that everything is kind of going according to plan. My husband does fire watch all the time, and so it's something that they just do, and they take turns. Everybody gets different turns and different shifts, and they do it 24/7, I think, for the most part. So even during the night, there are people that are on fire watch, even at like 1 and 2 in the morning. So it's something that's continually happening. And then the PFT is also something that your Marine has probably been doing since boot camp and even beforehand, because you have to do this when you're a poolee as well. And so the PFT is the physical fitness test, and it's a test that basically includes pull-ups, crunches, and the 3-mile run. And it's just a semi-annual test that kind of gauges their fitness levels and makes sure that they're keeping up with where they need to be in order to be a high-performance Marine. And then the next thing is the CFT, and this is another fitness test, but it's the combat fitness test. So it has a series of different running, like sprints and really quick stuff, ammo lifts where they're going to put like ammo boxes, ammo cans over their head, and then the maneuver under fire. And so what they're trying to do with this is simulate a high intensity combat situation and make sure that the Marines are fit enough to continue to do that and to you know, be able to do the physical aspects of what that demands. And then, so all of those things, while I'm saying that, is something that you will hear throughout the whole Marine process. I don't think it's not just something, you know, these aren't acronyms specific to MCT or MOS or boot camp. These are things that you're going to hear all the way around. So anyways, and then the next couple of things I'm going to talk about, of course, still pertain to that. And at the end, I'm going to sort of start talking about DEERS and what that process looks like. So that's going to be more spouse, fiance specific. So if you're a mom or something like that, you don't necessarily need to stick around for that. But just wanted to take a second in between to share that. So anyways, back to our terms. Something that my husband started saying when I picked him up from boot camp was his sleeves are so busted sleeves. Like, I would hear him say that, or my sleeves are busted, or he would get so frustrated. And so if you're a spouse, you're probably laughing because you've heard this, and it's actually a really big deal. With their camis, they roll their sleeves, and when my husband would roll his sleeves, I think if there was like any wrinkle or any sort of like if it wasn't rolled perfectly and staying flat, then it's called a busted sleeve. So you might hear your spouse or son or daughter, whatever, say that, and that's what that means. And it is a really big deal, I guess, and they take it very seriously. So it's something you have to be sensitive towards. And then the fleet, that's another word. Fleet is basically, once you're done with your schooling, you're going to hit the fleet. And so you'll hear Marines say that a lot too. And so it means that they're just done with school and they're going to be doing their job. PDS is permanent duty station. That's where they go after their MOS, which we learned earlier, is military occupational specialty. So after they get done with their training, they're going to be assigned to a permanent duty station, which is usually about 2 years in length, and that's where they're going to go. So that's what that means. And then getting into the DEERS aspect, DEERS is something that if you're trying to get married, you're going to hear a lot about. DEERS stands for Defense Enrollment Eligibility Reporting System. So it's basically a really long way of saying that it's something that you enroll in to make sure that you are now recognized by the military as a dependent to your spouse. And then what this is going to allow for is that when you're enrolled in DEERS and everything, your husband is also going to probably go to IPAC, which is Installation Personnel Administration Center. And that's a big fancy way of saying that it's the administrative side of the Marine Corps. So for us, I actually went to DEERS with a POA, which stands for Power of Attorney. I had my husband's power of attorney. I went to DEERS and I was able to enroll myself into the system, and that's what that stands for. Your husband can take your stuff and he can enroll you in DEERS. It was more convenient for us to have me do it myself, but IPAC is something that your husband or wife or whatever is probably going to have to do for you. And so that's not something that you're going to be able to do for yourself, but DEERS is something that you as a spouse can do for yourself with a notarized power of attorney. And then BAH is your basic allowance for housing, and that's something that once you're in IPAC and DEERS, you're going to be able to start receiving. And so it's your monthly amount that they allot for you to live, and you can either put that towards on-base housing or off-base housing, but it's just part of being a spouse and being a dependent. It's something that they give you. And another thing that's important to know is TRICARE. TRICARE is going to come into effect after you enroll in DEERS as well. So TRICARE is your insurance, and that's military insurance that they provide for you as a dependent as well. So two things come from DEERS: your BAH and your TRICARE. And if you go to DEERS and then it takes them a while to go to IPAC and you've been married 3 months before you get in the system, there's this thing called back pay, and that means that any money that you would have been getting, they'll go back to the day that you got married and they will start paying your BAH and all of that from that day forward. And so it's back pay. So it will show up on your husband's current pay stub, but it's basically what they've owed you for as many months as you've been married before it shows up. A quick tip and word of advice to everyone that's going to go to DEERS, because I see this question a lot, and it's something that I think a lot of girls are curious about. And guys too, I guess if you're, guys need to go to this too, but anyways, girls and guys, you want to make sure that you have, I had everything when I went, because I was really, really, really just like almost crazy. I wanted to make sure I had every single document, so I was really, really specific. I had my husband and I's birth certificates, original copies. I don't know how it would have worked if I hadn't have had this, but I'm only telling you what I brought. And I think if you have access to these documents, then you should take them, just for safe precaution. But I had both my husband and I's birth certificates. I had my driver's license. I had both of our social security cards. I had my POA, which is power of attorney, that he had signed and we had notarized, which UPS stores notarize, by the way, if you're looking for a notary. And then I also brought our marriage license. And my husband and I were specifically, you get one marriage license with what you pay, so that's free. But my husband and I also paid, I think it was $5 per copy, and it might vary by state, but that's how much we paid, and we bought 3, so that I always have one with me, he always has one with me, and then we always have a backup one. And I think that's a really good rule of thumb for anything. You're just going to want to make sure that you kind of always have one of those available, because they're going to ask you that for anything you need to change your name. So another tip that I would give you too, when I went to DEERS, I actually had gone ahead and I had scheduled my appointment with the Rapids appointment scheduler online, and I would highly recommend that you do that, because I sat in the waiting room for 2 minutes and I went straight back. So it should be available for you. This website will help you find where your local DEERS office is, and it's a really great resource. So if you just type in Rapids in all cap, RAPIDS, appointment scheduler, that will pull it up and you should be able to find that. So that's a very quick, brief rundown of some military terms and the way that you need to enroll yourself into DEERS and TRICARE. And I know that I went really quickly, and so if there's any questions or anything, you can always leave those in the comments below and let me know what you want to hear more about, so that I can better tailor these videos to your needs. So anyways, I hope that that was helpful, and I hope that that provided you insight and will allow you and your Marine to take the next steps in getting everything done that you need to. So there it is. Bye.